This video is going to talk about two-step equations review. Here is the first equation we're going to solve, and we want to know what are the steps to solve this equation. So if we look, we have 8 and 4b, and we need to do something about this because we want b to be isolated. So we're going to always start with adding or subtracting first. So I'm going to do adding or subtracting and then multiply or divide second. And you learned adding and subtracting first, so focus on doing that one first. So if I'm looking up here, the 8 is the first thing we're going to do something to. And because 8 has a plus sign in front of it, even though it's not there, we know that we have to subtract 8 to get rid of it, because that's the inverse operation. 4b, that means 4 times b. So the inverse operation of times 4 is divided by 4. So those are the two things that we're going to do. So let's bring the problem down and draw a line down the equal sign. We're going to minus 8 to both sides first. You always do the same thing to both sides, and you always cancel. I can bring down 4b in the equal sign, and I have 5 minus 8. I'm going to make a t-chart. 5. 8 is on the negative side. They're on different sides, so I'm going to find the difference between them. The difference would be 3. And the negative side has more points on it, so the answer is negative 3. So we've done the minus 8 part. Now we're going to do the divided by 4 part. And when we do division, we make a fraction bar because that's what division is, a fraction bar. So we're going to divide by 4, and cancel. You can always cancel after you do the same thing to both sides. So we have b equals negative 3/4, and we're going to leave it as that because we cannot simplify it any further. So b equals negative 3/4. Here's our next example. What are the steps to solve x over negative 8 minus 3 equals 1? So we're going to look here. We're going to start with plus and minus, and then multiply and divide as we did before. And I see that the minus 3 is the first thing I'm going to get rid of. And so the opposite of minus 3 is plus 3. And then I have x divided by negative 8. The inverse operation of dividing by negative 8 is multiplying by negative 8. So I'm going to bring the problem down and draw a line down the equal sign. We're starting with adding 3 to both sides. Plus 3, draw a line, and cancel. Bring down the x over negative 8 equals, and 1 plus 3, I don't need to do a t-chart for this because it's basic math, that equals 4. So that's my first step. For the second step, I'm going to choose a different color. So step 2 says to multiply, because we've done step 3, multiply by 8. So how I show multiplication is I use parentheses. If I put parentheses around something, that means I'm going to multiply with it. And I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 8. I'm going to make this one a fraction because I'm working with a fraction. And this side is just a whole number because I'm working with a whole number. Just like before, if you do something to both sides, you can always cancel. This cancels. And I'm left with x. Bring down the equals. 4 times negative 8 I'm going to make the Sleepy Man or Dorito Man. I have a positive times a negative, and that gives me a negative. 4 times 8 is 32. So my answer, x equals negative 32. Here's the next problem. 2/5 x plus 4 equals 10. So this one looks a little bit trickier because of the fraction next to the variable, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start with plus and minus and multiply and divide. Starting with this, I know the inverse operation of plus 4 is minus 4. And this is a fraction. Anytime I see a fraction, I think of division. The inverse operation of division is multiplication. And we're going to multiply both sides by not 2/5, but the reciprocal. The reciprocal means you're flipping the fraction, and we're going to multiply both sides by 5/2. So let's bring down our problem. And we're starting with the minus 4 on both sides. Minus 4, draw a line and cancel. 2/5 x equals 10 minus 4 is 6. I'm going to change colors to show my second step. We've done the first one, and now we're going to do the second step. We're going to multiply both sides by 5/2. Parentheses, parentheses. 5/2, 5/2. I have fractions here, and I need to make this one a fraction, and to make anything a fraction, you put a 1 under it. We've done something to both sides, and as always, we can cancel, and we're left with x. Now we multiply these, and you multiply the numerator, multiply the denominator. 6 times 5 is 30. 1 times 2 is 2. And that simplifies. 30 divided by 2. So x equals 15. Here's our next problem, one that's very similar to what we just did. I can look at this and know I'm going to plus 26 first and multiply by 2/1 because I have to flip this over. See if you can solve this one by yourself, and then I'll go over it. So hopefully you were able to get the right answer. But to start with, let's add 26 to both sides. Plus 26, plus 26, draw a line and cancel. 1/2 x equals, and I'm going to add these two together, and that gives me 41. So I've done the plus 26. My second step is to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2/1. Multiply, multiply, 2/1, 2/1, and cancel. X equals, and 41 times 2, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 4 is 8, so x equals 82, and that would be our final answer. Here's the next one. This one looks very different, and so we're going to do it differently. We can't do a plus or minus first on this one because we have a fraction that is all together. This is one big fraction. Here's the numerator, Here's the denominator. So we have to get rid of the fraction first. And when you see a fraction, you should always think multiply. And you're always going to multiply by the denominator. So we're going to multiply by 6 because that's our denominator. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. Multiply by 6. Because that's going to cancel this out. And then we're left with a one-step equation. 4 plus W equals negative 36. Draw a line. Minus 4, minus 4. Cancel. W equals, make a T-chart. I have 36 and 4 on the same side because they're both negative. When they're on the same side, you combine all of their points. So the negative team has 40 points. So your final answer, W equals negative 40. Here's the next one. I want you to see if you can solve it, and then I'll explain it. So for this, we're going to multiply by 3, because that is our denominator. 3 and 3. And we can always cancel, that's why we're doing this. And we're left with 3 plus h equals, don't forget to multiply on this side, 6 times 3 is 18. Then you have a one-step equation. We want to get rid of the 3. This is the same thing as positive 3. So to get rid of it, we have to subtract 3. H equals 15. Now I would like for you to solve these problems, and then I'm going to give you the answers. So I'm going to give you the answers to the 4 problems. The first one, r equals negative 8. Number 2 is n equals 15. Number 3, x equals 9. And number 4, m equals 16.